Good morning. Thank you all for tuning in and joining us today. 2020 has brought about many firsts, and today we are conducting the Action Center's first ever virtual annual meeting. Our annual meeting is an opportunity for us to connect with our community and our stakeholders and update you about the health and well-being of the Action Center, report on community need and our response to that need, highlight our leadership changes, and report out on our financial well-being. We also like to utilize this time together to look ahead and to bring forward expert guest speakers who can share their knowledge and perspective on current trends in our community and the social challenges the Action Center is here to address. I am so pleased that our guest speaker this year is Mary Berg, Executive Director of Jefferson County Human Services. I'm also pleased to be joined this year by distinguished members of the Action Center's Board of Directors, Cindy Baroway, LaDawn Sperling, and Dave Norwood. Just before I turn it over to Cindy Baroway, our board's immediate past president, I would just like to remind you that you will be muted for this event. However, we encourage you to use the chat function of the Zoom to send us any questions or comments for our presenters. While we will not have time to take live questions, we will be recording the event and your questions, and we'll be sending you the recording and the responses to those questions within the next few days. Please feel free to share the content with those who could not be with us today. If you would like to learn more about the Action Center, I encourage you to attend one of our virtual tours or our monthly fireside chats. You can sign up for either of these by visiting our website's Get Involved tab. With that in mind, I will now turn it over to Cindy Baroway and welcome her for a few thoughts. Cindy? Thank you, Pam. Thank you all for stepping up to help us with your various resources, whether it was your financial donation, your time, or just helping us to spread the word about our efforts and directing those in need to us. We truly came together as a community to help out so many who were and still are in need. 2020 was a pivotal year for all of us. I know we'd like to think that 2020 is in the rearview mirror, as it was a year like no other, with the needs of our neighbors far exceeding anything we could have imagined or planned for. You rose to the challenge by providing new volunteers to support our services, as many of our existing volunteers sheltered in their home. Our longtime volunteers pivoted their energy so they could help out from the safety of their homes. You shared generously with your financial gifts, allowing the Action Center to provide over 2 million pounds of food to over 22,000 households, as well as continue with our special events, our school supply, Thanksgiving food drive, and holiday gift shop. Yet again, our staff and volunteers pivoted so that these events could take place safely. We had over 2,400 new donors in 2020. This is unprecedented. Just to give you an idea, in the past, we might average 600 new donors a year. That was 4 times the amount. So thank you for coming out and helping the Action Center. We also need to thank our local governments and foundations who stepped up and provided the Action Center with over $1 million to assist our neighbors that were struggling to make rent payments and were at risk of becoming homeless. And a huge shout out to our volunteers and staff who were able to quickly pivot our food distribution model so that we could serve the growing need in our community and do it safely. None of this would have been possible without the amazing support of all of you. Thank you. As we look towards the future, I'd like to invite Pam Brier back to the podium to discuss what some of the future trends may look like for the Action Center. Pam, I'll turn it back over to you. Thank you so much, Cindy. And thank you for your many years of service and leadership on the Action Center's board. As Cindy mentioned, 2020 was a year like no other for our country, for the community, and at the Action Center. As COVID-19 challenged our community, the Action Center immediately felt the impact. We knew, even as this crisis began, that our neighbors were going to need us now more than ever. and we took immediate steps to ensure that we could stay safe and that our doors could remain open. Shifting most of our operations outdoors and online, we quickly saw a spike in need and in the traffic to the Action Center. In fact, 30% of those coming to the Action Center to help are new to the Action Center. Many of these families and households have seen their worlds upended by COVID and have found themselves needing to ask for help for the very first time. We watched our weekly average households climb from 480 in March to 794 during the first week of the new year. Our job during this time, as it has always been, is to welcome people and let them know that it's okay to ask for help. This is why the Action Center is here. No questions asked, you'll be greeted with kindness, compassion, and without judgment. In this way, and perhaps in only this way, it has been business as usual at the Action Center. Our Action Center team of staff and our many volunteers made me more proud than ever as they suddenly found themselves on the front lines of this pandemic. Facing their own fears and stress, they responded with grace to the growing need and hardship in the community. I have watched in awe as they have served over 22,000 households, distributing more than 2 million pounds of food, as Cindy mentioned. Our team dug in as the need for rent assistance climbed at an astounding rate. Prior to COVID, a typical year saw an average rent assistance distribution of about $80,000. By comparison, during the 9 months since COVID began, our small but mighty team has distributed over $1 million in assistance to families across Jefferson County, keeping them safe and housed. And this need is not subsiding. Our current wait list for rental assistance has over 700 people on it, and the amount of help they need grows each month as they fall more and more behind. We are doing our best to process the applications as quickly as possible and are hiring an additional staff member to our rent assistance team to further expand our capacity in this area. I've been asked today to look forward and share what we are expecting for 2021. Unfortunately, it looks like we are facing more of the same. Here is what we know. From March to December, Colorado saw 618,000 jobless claims. And even now, we are still seeing 7,000 new jobless claims a week across the state. And according to the Colorado Business and Economic Outlook, we will not be back to pre-pandemic employment levels until at least 2023. What this means for the Action Center is that the pain and challenges our neighbors are facing does not end with the arrival of 2021 or the deployment of the vaccine. At the Action Center, we are gearing up for a year of continued focus on our emergency intervention services of food assistance, rent assistance, utility assistance, and emergency bill pay. We are looking forward with concern about the impact on our community when the eviction moratorium is eventually lifted. We know the need will balloon, and we hope to have the resources to respond. We are grateful to have become a trusted partner with the county and the state in providing these services and to have the support from our generous donors to continue to step up to the need. On the bright side, we are encouraged that our volunteers, many of whom are over 70, will soon have the protection of the vaccine and may be able to return to us. As the vaccine is rolled out, we are looking forward to slow and careful return to some of our indoor operations later this year. Another silver lining of the COVID challenges have been the encouragement of an even greater spirit of collaboration and cooperation across the county. The birth of new and impactful partnerships across our county and metro area have helped organizations like ours come together to share resources, best practices, and strengthen our response. The Action Center has led a weekly countywide food task force Zoom meeting, and through this, we have all shared best practices, resources, volunteers, and begun conversations about long-term collaborations for greater reach and efficiency. The task force has been attended by county and state government leaders and has ensured a common understanding of the depth of challenges our communities face and helped elected officials advocate for the assistance and support that we need to better serve the community. And finally, we're encouraged by the compassion and generosity we have seen in our community this year, which enables us to continue our rapid response to the elevated need we are encountering. I can't thank you all enough for the support that enables us to do that. And now it is my pleasure to introduce Mary Berg, Executive Director of Jefferson County Human Services. We're so pleased to have Mary with us to share her perspective on the growing needs in our county and the steps the county has taken to respond to that need. Welcome, Mary.
Thank you, Pam, Action Center staff, board members, and all the volunteers and people who are outside of this building right now today. I am so grateful to be asked to speak at your annual meeting today. And as Pam said, I'm Mary Berg. I'm the Executive Director for the Jefferson County Human Services Department. And I have been a part of the Jefferson County Human Services community for over 25 years. I am so grateful to be able to be here to express our appreciation for our partnership in supporting the community. We certainly know in Jeffco that we come together in both good times and in hard times, and that we are stronger together. We certainly demonstrated this in 2020. We had many partners coming together. And today, my thoughts are actually on the future. And what I really want to bring today to the community is a message of hope. I think what we learned from last year is that we saw great examples of collaboration and innovation that you've already heard about today. Before, possibly, we had an example of wanting to say, I don't know if we can do that. And this year, what we said is, not only can we, but we will do that. And we did it together. So as the pandemic unrolled in 2020, Human Services coordinated with County Emergency Operations and our Public Health Department to put together a Community Needs Task Force to address the growing need in our community. This task force is up and running today and will continue in the future as we focus our efforts on recovery. We had 5 main areas of focus in this task group. We looked at how we could best support the unique needs of some of our most vulnerable populations, our seniors, our children, our Spanish-speaking communities. We pulled together the Adelante Network, the libraries, AARP, anyone who was willing and able to provide support. We were able to create a small business task force that works together with the chambers to support our many small businesses in Jefferson County, to assist them with the ever-changing public health orders, and to support our economy as many ways as possible. What we saw is a spike in unemployment rates of up to 12.1% in April, the greatest we have seen almost ever in Jefferson County. But I want to tell you that 2/3 of those individuals are back to work. And in November, that rate dropped to 5.8%, which means that many more people have been able to secure employment again. And we know when people are employed, they're able to support their families, themselves, and they can prosper. However, we know that this new unemployment rate is over double of what we saw last year at this time. So we will continue to focus on strengthening our economy, our small businesses, with a new focus on the 5-star certification program. We're fortunate in Jefferson County to have our own workforce and community development programs in our Human Services Department. The continue to make these connections. A third work group that emerged this year was designed to support housing and those experiencing homelessness. You heard Pam mention the increasing need for rental assistance. We have an ongoing commitment in our community to ensure housing stability, to keep people housed, and to prevent homelessness, but also to support those who may be experiencing some additional struggles. We did this through shifting from congregate care to vouchering and individual safe spaces for those who needed extra support and security. We were able to stand up an actual hotel to serve those who are experiencing homelessness with COVID-related symptoms in partnership with our public health and many nonprofit agencies. You already heard Pam talk about this wonderful integrated food task force that really became an almost overall networking of resources in our community. I think there were days when there were 50, possibly 75 individuals participating. It was a way to not only provide support to our community and those in need, but to each other and to agencies and to those in the community to create an even broader scope of support. What we've also seen is a rise in individuals who qualified for food assistance benefits through human services. These are at an all-time high, the highest rate in Jefferson County since I have been here for over 25 years. We've been able to provide the maximum benefit based on waivers that we've received. But if you can imagine, this is a supplemental nutrition assistance program, not designed to provide support to meet your entire family's needs. And that's why the Action Center and many of our community partners who have stepped up to provide ongoing emergency food assistance have been so important during this time. As the emergency public health orders are still in place and they have been extended to April, we will see a majority of people qualifying for benefits and continuing to need this level of support, even while we focus on reopening our businesses and helping people get back to work. The fifth task force that was created was for child care supports. You can't assist people with employment if they don't have support for their children. We learned many people who were working remotely during this time became not only employees, but also teachers of their children. So maybe we have an emerging pipeline for teachers in our future. And so again, I'm here to share a message of hope that many things that we've learned from 2020 are ways in which we can do business differently, ways in which we can support each other, and we can continue to provide avenues for our community to achieve success in the future. So we are going to continue to support the community with housing stability, businesses, child care, those who are needing an extra special touch because of some of their needs. The Action Center continues to be open to serve just those people. So as we move forward, as a nation on Monday, we are going to honor and celebrate one of our greatest leaders, Martin Luther King Jr. And as we recall his actions and leadership towards justice and civil rights, we move into this next year and follow something that he said. The time is always right to do right. And in Jeffco, we will continue to work together to do what is right for our community. So thank you again, Pam and the board and everyone at the Action Center, your donors, your supporters, for this incredible partnership, year of learning and pivoting, but most importantly, hope for our future. As the vaccine has arrived and we're able to provide more vaccines to people in our community. The hope is that kids are returning back to school. Things are opening up. That someday we will see what our new normal will be like, and we will still be here in the community together. So thank you again for having me here. I can't nearly express the gratitude that I have for everybody. So here's to a wonderful 2021 and hope for our future. Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Dave Norwood, and I am the treasurer of the Action Center. And my role is to review the financial audit for our fiscal year end, which is June 30th, and provide some updates about our financial position after that. So if we go to the statement of financial position and we look at the assets, you'll see the cash and cash equivalents are up 1.5 million over the previous year. Our unconditional promises, which are essentially pledges, are down 37%, but this is not necessarily indicative of giving to the Action Center. A lot of giving is not necessarily pledges as it once was. Our investment portfolio is up 152,000 compared to the previous year. These are all financial numbers that I'm speaking about as of June 30th, 2020. Property and equipment was a significant change with a drop in $920,000, and that was due to the sale of our property, which is Cottonwood 2, which we had leased out, so we had never utilized that facility. And then if you go to our liabilities, you'll see a corresponding drop in our liabilities, which is the pay down of our mortgage on the buildings from the sale of Cottonwood 2. We also entered into a Paychecks Protection Program loan in the amount of $352,000, and I believe we are now working through the forgiveness process of that loan. Now, if we go to the statement of activities and changes in net assets, we will see that in the support, revenue, and gains area, our in-kind donations are down 2.1 million during the 2020 fiscal year, and that is due to limiting operations due to COVID and due to changing and simplifying how we measured our outgoing food. You will hear me say in this presentation, due to COVID several times. You also will see that contributions, though, were up 1.1 million from the community, because even though we have had we've had a lot of things change, we have had strong community support during this period, and that has made a significant impact on the organization. Needless to say, COVID has had a significant impact, but due to community support, we have been able to support our community in food donation, in food distribution, and rental assistance, and also financial stability. Now, going on through the statement of activities, you will see that government grants were lower in 2019, and that was due to the high level of fundraising we did during our call to action campaign in 2019, in which we received a lot of support from the county and the local municipalities. It's also down, and that's due to the cancellation of the musical jump set due to COVID. Rental revenue is also down, and that's due to the sale of the building in which we received a lot of rental income, since those were tenants that we leased to. And then in our expenses, total program services expenses were also down 1.8 million, once again mainly due to the decrease in in-kind food donations, that's about $1 million, and a decrease in in-kind assistance due to COVID. I do want to point out, though, that during the period of COVID, from March through November, we had approximately 844,000 in rental assistance we provided to this community because it was community support allowing us to do that. Our cash flow, you will see in our cash flow statement that, first of all, cash flow starts with a change in net assets. And then we add back non-cash items like depreciation and amortization. And therefore, our net change in cash flow on the balance sheet, our net cash position was $1.2 million increase from the 2020 year end versus June 2019. So once again, we've been working towards financial stability. I want to make a few comments about the period from June 30th, 2020 to November. I don't have the simple results yet, but during this period, we've seen our year-to-date net revenues exceed our budget back in the two. This is the road to financial stability that I talked about. During that time, we have been able to actually have the opportunity to invest in an endowment fund, which is now approximately $3 million, which I believe represents longevity of this organization. The ability for us to still be here and serve the community in these types of that's all I have to say. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Dave. This is an unprecedented year when it comes to our finances. And I've been a volunteer with the Action Center since the early 90s and on the board since 2009. Been to many of these annual meetings. Never heard financial statements quite like that one. So thank you, Dave. We appreciate that. Thank you for your leadership on our finance committee as well, and serving as our board treasurer. You know what I miss? I'm going to go off script here. Is not having everybody in the room with us. Because normally right now, if I'm going to talk about the board, I'd go around the room and point out our board members. We have so many dedicated board members at the Action Center. What's been unique about this year is we haven't seen each other in person probably since February, because even at our March retreat in 2020, we weren't all there because everybody was starting to get involved with the COVID issues with their employers. So I miss you all. I wish we could see you here so we have a chance to talk about you and talk about all the great things you've done and to point you out to our community. Hopefully you guys will get a chance to maybe visit our website or take a look at some of our Facebook postings and find out who our board members are, because all of them do a great job. You know, our board is a diverse group of individuals who care deeply about those in our community who are experiencing hunger and or homelessness. We have bankers, we have attorneys, accountants, social service professionals, law enforcement, and many community leaders, all providing the guidance that is critical for the long-term success and sustainability of the Action Center. As I mentioned earlier in my remarks about this being a pivotal year, you just heard from Dave, we have $3 million that's gone into an endowment. This is unheard of in the history of the Action Center. This is a lot to do with thoughtfulness by our staff who've been taking care of the money that we receive to make sure it's being used with due diligence to help all of our participants, by our volunteers who make sure that they're doing everything they can as well, and our board members who sit there and make a lot of difficult decisions. And sometimes it's difficult when you don't have money, and funny enough, it's difficult when you do have money, because now where do we spend the money to get the greatest good out of it? Those are decisions that we've been making at the Action Center board. It's been my privilege to serve the past 2 years as the board chair. Our last board retreat, like I said, was in March of 2020, right when COVID hit. And we had no idea if our donors would be able to support us. We had no idea how COVID would impact our operations. That was just 10 months ago. And here we are in the best financial position that the Action Center has ever seen. A very pivotal moment in our history. We've strengthened our community partnerships. The board and the staff rolled with the punches and came out stronger than ever. I would have to say that 2020 challenged our board to make some of the most pivotal decisions regarding the future of the Action Center. Thank you to all my fellow board members who, if they were in the room, I'd point them out again and say hello and thank you. Our success would not have been possible without all of you and all of your involvement in leadership. With that being said, I'll be saying farewell to 2 of our board members that are stepping off the board at this time. First is Elizabeth Colliard, and she will be receiving this certificate at a later date. I remember when I first spoke to Elizabeth, I was making our board makes thank you calls in December after our board meeting, just to thank our donors for what they do. I was talking to Elizabeth and asked her how she got involved with the Action Center or knew about us. And then she asked me a question, and that was, how do I get on the board? What does the board do? And the next thing we knew, we had Elizabeth as one of our board members and a very active member of our community awareness committee. Elizabeth, thank you for your contributions, and we know that you won't be too far away. Ben Wiederholt will also be receiving one of our certificates in a short amount of time. Ben has been involved with the Action Center for 8 years and served as the board president from 2017 to 2018. He was the chair of our Executive Director Search Committee, which was responsible for hiring Pam Brier, our Executive Director. Ben's many contributions to the Action Center are too numerous to mention in detail, but I will tell you some personal things. I've enjoyed serving with Ben on the board, sharing a glass of wine back when we had the wine event for the Action Center fundraiser. And he and I have a special fondness for a type of whiskey, and I am not an alcoholic drinker whatsoever, but we happen to like one that's got chai in it. I know he doesn't want everybody else to know that because, you know, guys are supposed to drink that strong, hard whiskey, but there's one with chai that tastes really well. We've also had a lot of good times debating the Action Center's future. Ben, I know you won't be too far away. I want to thank your family for sharing their time with you, with us. Thank you for everything that you've done for us, Ben. So now it's time to transition. 2020, like I said, has been a pivotal year, and we'll move it into 2021 with new board leadership. LaDawn Sperling will be our board president, and Barb Goodman will be serving as vice president. I'm very confident that both of these women will do an excellent job in guiding this organization into the future. With that, I'm going to turn over the gavel to LaDawn at a safe distance. So let me step away here. LaDawn, all yours.
Thank you, Cindy. I'm honored to serve as the Action Center's new board president. I've been involved with the Action Center since 2006, and we truly are seeing a much greater need than we have in the past at the Action Center. So thank you, all of you, for your support. I'm very excited to continue the Action Center's leadership role in food rescue and preventing homelessness. Preventing homelessness is really the reason I got involved in the Action Center, and I'm excited to see all of the different activities we do that help those in need in our community. I'm also very excited about our financial picture. I've been on the board for many years, and this is the first time our financial picture has looked so good. So the board is making decisions so we can make sure that we're sustainable in the future, and we can continue to provide hope for those in the community. Now I'd like to take a moment to introduce you to our new board members. We have 4 new board members, and I'm very excited to have the opportunity to work for them. We have Lori Rubio with St. Anthony Hospital Centura Health. Lori is the Director of Volunteer Services. We have a lot of volunteers at the Action Center, so we're excited to have Lori's background on our board. Next, we have Tracy Sluzales, who works for the City of Lakewood Early Head Start. Tracy's a home visitor, and she sees what's happening in our community really at the ground level. She is there visiting with families every day, and I'm sure the board will learn a lot from Tracy. Next, we have our 2 financial gurus. Everybody needs a financial guru on their board, right? We have Daryl Hudspeth, who's the founding partner of High Point Financial Group. And we have Denver Ma, who is Director of Finance for Colorado Housing and Finance Authority, also known as CHAPA. I'm so excited to serve on the board with our 4 new members, and I'm looking forward to meeting with them face-to-face. Some of these new board members I have never met face-to-face, so I'm excited for the time when we can do that. Thank you so much to everyone for joining us and supporting us. We know everyone has busy days, and we appreciate you taking the time to listen to our look back on 2020. We appreciate your comments and questions, and we will be getting back to you early next week with a follow-up email that answers all of your questions. If you enjoyed today's presentation, I strongly recommend you sign up for some of our other virtual events. We have a monthly fireside chat, and we also have a virtual tour of the Action Center. Also, we have our Where Action Matters fundraising breakfast that will be coming up. So I hope you can join us for all of those. You can learn more about our events by visiting theactioncenter.org/get-involved. If you have any other questions following this event, feel free to email Pam Brier, our Executive Director, at any time. Pam's email is pbrier, B-R-I-E-R, @theactioncenter.org. We wish you well, be safe, be healthy, have a great rest of your day, and thank you so much for your support of the Action Center. So, we're adjourned. I almost forgot.